You want to achieve success, and success requires ultimate self-confidence. No matter where you are in your journey as a dreamer, all of us can improve our self-confidence. And it's my desire for you to have the ultimate confidence in yourself so you can achieve anything that you put your mind to, which is why today we are going to be talking about finding your inner confidence. Welcome to the Dream Lifestyle Podcast. I'm grateful to have you here today as we talk about finding your inner confidence. And this is important because all of us as dreamers, we want to achieve success. We want to leave a lasting impact. We want to climb the corporate ladder. We want to build our businesses. We want to achieve and hit milestones. And the fact is, in order for us to do these things, we have to take action. And what stops a lot of us from taking the necessary action to achieve the success and the goals that we want is confidence, because a lack of confidence will cause us to lose out on opportunities. However, when we are intentional with building our confidence, we will find ourselves taking the necessary action. And for a lot of us, we're able to see this because most of us know what it is that we need to do. We know the phone calls that we need to make. We know the calls and the meetings we're supposed to have. We know the systems we're supposed to set up. But for a lot of us, because there is a lack of confidence, that void gets filled with fear. That void gets filled with uncertainty. And so for us as dreamers, it is vital, it is important that we find our inner confidence so that way we can achieve greatness, so that way we can achieve and have the impact that we desire to have, particularly since we're not just going for the basic dreams and goals like everybody else. We're going for things that are changing generations. We are thinking innovative. We are going big. And when we are thinking big, we need to have confidence that is at the foundation of our great achievement that we are aspiring towards. So in this conversation, I'm just going to be sharing with you 3 things that will help us find that inner confidence so that we can go out into the world and achieve all that we need to achieve. And so the first thing that we need to do in order to find our inner confidence is we have to have a willingness to push limits. A willingness to push limits basically just means I am willing to challenge myself. I am willing to put myself intentionally in uncomfortable situations so that way I can grow. And it does not matter what level you are at. Each and every one of us in some area of our lives, in all areas of our life, I should even say, have areas that we can grow in. Each and every one. It does not matter. It does not matter what your education. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It does not matter your skill level. Each and every one of us has limits that we have to be intentional with pushing through. And when we are intentional and we have a willingness to push through our limits, that's when we'll actually be able to start seeing more of who we are. We're going to start being able to get a better understanding of what we're capable of. And even greater than that, we'll actually discover what's possible for our lives. And each and every one of us has an internal dialogue that's always happening throughout the day. In this head of yours, you always have an internal dialogue. And it's very important that we get very clear on what we are listening to. And it's too many of us who are making decisions, who are living our lives on a day-to-day basis based off of limiting beliefs. And the only way that we will be able to eliminate those limiting beliefs is by testing them. And the way in which you test those limiting beliefs is by pushing your limits, meaning that you do things that you didn't think you were able to do. You put yourself in position so that way you can see if what you're actually saying to yourself, what you are consistently hearing, is actually true. And when I have a willingness to push limits, I will start to see a deconstruction of these limiting beliefs, because every limiting belief must be tested. Like I said, all of us have an internal dialogue. And if you have limiting beliefs that are stopping you from doing what you need to do, back to the point I made earlier about how when we don't have confidence, what fills that void is uncertainty and fear. If you are not taking action because of fear, if you are not taking action because you don't feel qualified or you don't feel good enough or you don't feel like it's possible for you, understand that is a limiting belief that needs to be tested. But you have to take the action step to actually push your limits. And it's only when I push limits and I start to see this deconstruction of limiting beliefs, I start to get curious about my potential. And trust me, when you're curious about your potential, it is like an avalanche of activity. It's like an avalanche that happens when you want to just continue to grow, when you want to continue to push your limits, just so you can see how good you are, just so you can see what you're really capable of. And it's when I have that curiosity of potential that I will actually start to achieve more in my life. And all of this comes from just having a willingness to push limits. And again, number one, when I have that willingness to push limits, I have a deconstruction of limiting beliefs. The things I used to say about myself, the things I used to think that was possible for my life, now I start to see they're not really true, because I'm pushing through what I thought were limits. But because I'm intentional with putting myself in uncomfortable situations so that way I can grow, that's when I can start deconstructing those limiting beliefs. But then I can also get curious about what's possible for my life. I can get curious about my potential. The things that people used to say about me, I realize aren't really true. The things that I used to think I would never be able to do now seem to come pretty easy to me. But it's because you've intentionally push the limits. And once you have this foundation of understanding, wait, I have limiting beliefs being deconstructed, I'm getting curious about my potential, like I said, you will start to achieve way more than you ever have. Because as the saying goes, in order for you to have something you've never had before, you have to do something you've never done. And when you are intentionally pushing your limits, when you are going beyond what you're used to going, when you are doing more than you're used to doing, you will start finding yourself getting better results because of it. So that's the first thing that we all need to do. We need to have a willingness to push our limits. And now the second thing that we need to do, once I have a willingness to push my limits, once I'm really clear and I'm very curious about what's possible for my life, it's then that I develop a willingness to fail. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, and I understand, but let me explain it to you. A willingness to fail basically just means, okay, I don't want to fail, but even if I do, me failing is a lot better than where I am now. And it's when I have this willingness to fail, I'll start being very honest in my thinking. And this is very important because there are a lot of people who believe or try to operate from step 3 when they're really at step 1. They're trying to get to step 10. They're trying to build their business. They're trying to climb the corporate ladder. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. But they're doing it from a place thinking that they're higher or as if they're doing more than what they really are doing. But when I have a willingness to fail after pushing my limits, it's then that I start to develop this honest thinking and just clarity around where I really am. This is where I get honest about what time am I really waking up in the morning. This is where I get honest about how much time in my workday am I actually working? What am I actually doing what I said that I'm doing? And this is important because, again, in order for us to truly get to where we want to go, we have to be very clear with where we are. And when I have a willingness to fail, I have clarity. I start to get honest in my thinking. And it's once I have an honest, clear understanding of where I am today and an honest, clear understanding of where I want to go, that is when I will lead myself into having the ability to have innovative thinking. Because, again, I'm pushing my limits. So I'm starting to get curious about my potential. So that means my failure does not look like how it once did. Now, again, failure is not the goal. We're not trying to fail, but we aren't afraid of it either, because we are not allowing a fear of failure stop us from taking action. So when I understand where I am in honesty and truth, when I understand where I am in spirit and truth, and I know where I want to go, I will then allow myself to be innovative in my thinking. Now, in some areas, this innovative thinking applies, but in other areas, it doesn't. Some things you just need to basically follow the path, but other things we need to be able to think outside of the box. And in order for us to properly think outside of the box, I have to know where I am, and that's just being honest in my thinking. So when I'm honest in my thinking, I give myself the power to be innovative. I can start thinking outside of the box. In what ways can I stand out when it comes to trying to get this promotion? How can I stand out when it comes to trying to get in connection and network with other high worth individuals? That's when I'm actually able to be innovative, because I'm just honest with where I am. Because every single position has a level of advantage, but it's only when I'm honest in my thinking that I can start being innovative. And it's only when I then have an honest perspective about where I am, where I want to go, and I have an innovative thinking mind, that's when I will find myself having increased levels of energy and effort when it comes to doing what's necessary to achieve my goals. Because when I have a great strategy, I've thought this out. I'm thinking about something that may totally revolutionize an industry. I'm thinking about something that is totally outside of the box. I believe that it works because I've tested, I've gotten information, I've worked on my skills. You will find yourself having much more energy towards doing the work. You will find yourself in a much better mood when it comes to actually doing the work. You'll find yourself just being more productive simply just because you feel better. And so when I have a willingness to fail, it's basically just saying, you know what? Me failing still puts me ahead because I'm pushing limits. But I also understand that I'm being innovative in my thinking and I'm clear on where I am. And so I'm excited about the work that I get to do. I want to achieve this. I'm excited that these are my steps to get there. And I believe it because I'm curious about what's possible for my life because I want to achieve more than I ever have before. And so once we get to the point where I have a willingness to push my limits and then I have a willingness to fail, I become more confident because I'm tearing down limiting beliefs, as well as I'm getting curious about my potential, as well as I just simply understand that if I were to fail as I'm pushing my limits, I'm still ahead of where I am today. I have confidence. Now the key is I have to be consistent in it. And so that means I have to have a willingness to be consistent in order to find my inner confidence. Because this is not a one-time thing. This is not a one-time job or task or action step when it comes to finding your inner confidence. This is something that we have to consistently do. In some way, shape, or form, you want to find something that you can be consistent at. Because if you can be consistent in anything, it could be the smallest thing. It does not need to be, oh, I need to make 100 phone calls every day. It doesn't need to be, oh, I need to go to the gym 5 days a week. It could be as simple as flossing. It could be as simple as making your bed. But why you need to have a willingness to be consistent is because you are giving yourself small achievements daily. You are giving yourself some reason to basically look yourself in the eye and say, hey, I said I was going to do it and I did it. And the more and more you do that, the more and more you go through your days knowing, man, I accomplished something today. Day might not have been perfect, might have been a rough one, but I accomplished something. I was consistent in this. And when you have those moments of small achievements and you're able to celebrate yourself and saying, you know what, day kind of wasn't the best, but I made my bed today. That's a win. Those things compound and stack onto each other. And this is where habit formation and everything of the like comes into play. But when I have a willingness to be consistent, it basically just means I'm willing to consistently push my limits. I'm willing to continue to fail forward because I understand that I'm curious about what's in me. I'm curious about what is possible for my life if I continue this trend. And so when I have a willingness to be consistent, I will put myself in position to just consistently get small wins. And the more wins I get, the more confident I get. And the more confident I get, the more I start to trust myself. Because honestly, that's all self-confidence is. It's basically you being able to look yourself in the mirror and be able to say, do I trust you? And if you can say yes, then I would like to think more than likely you're confident. But for those of us who might struggle in this area, it's when we look ourselves in the mirror and we're not able to say, and we're not able to confidently say, I trust you. That's when we know, okay, there are some limits that I need to push. I need to have a willingness to fail in some areas because I don't want to miss any more opportunities because of a lack of confidence. So I have an action question for you. What is one small, consistent action that you can take in order to build your inner confidence? And when you answer this question, let me know what you decided to do below in the comments or send me an email. I'd love to get in touch with you. But I hope that this conversation was helpful for you because understand there are so many opportunities that are right there for your taking. And I don't want you to allow fear, uncertainty, or just an overall lack of confidence rob you of those life-changing opportunities. So all I'm going to ask you to do is, if you haven't by now, download the growth guide that's in the description link below, as well as like, comment, subscribe, because that basically allows the platform to grow. So that way, the algorithms and everything like that recommend it to more people, because more people need confidence. You know it, I know it. So why not serve them together? So please, let's do our part. make sure that you like, subscribe, as well as even share this with someone that you know struggles with their self-confidence. Because I'm telling you, with these three things of just having a willingness to push your limits, a willingness to fail, as well as just a willingness to be consistent, can totally change someone's life. And so I believe that it will be life-changing and game-changing for you. So go out with those things. Understand. Life gets better when you get better.